The security feeds flickered across Commander Vrath's primary visual receptor, and for the third time in as many cycles, he had to confirm what he was seeing wasn't a malfunction. A human child, standing at the outer gate of Fortress Kellamore. Alone. Well, not entirely alone. Behind her, sitting on its haunches like some kind of biological nightmare wrapped in fur and bad decisions, was what the human databases called a honey badger. This has to be a joke, Vrath muttered, his mandibles clicking in confusion. Someone tell me this is a joke. Lieutenant Skora, his second in command, leaned closer to the monitor. Her 3 eyes blinked in sequence, the Thraxian equivalent of a nervous tick. Sir, thermal scans confirm 2 life forms. 1 juvenile human, approximately 8 standard years old. 1 Mellivora capensis, adult specimen. I know what a honey badger is, Lieutenant. Vrath's voice carried the weight of someone who'd read the reports. The terrible, terrible reports. The question is, why is there a human child at our primary defensive installation with one of those demons? The child raised her hand again, knocked on the reinforced uranium gate. 3 polite taps that somehow echoed through the entire command center despite being physically impossible. Tap, tap, tap. She's been doing that for 6 minutes, Skora said helpfully. I can see that. Should we open the gate? Vrath turned all 4 of his eyes toward his second in command. Should we open the gate? She asks. Should we open the gate to a human child accompanied by an animal that once ate through 3 decks of a Corvellian warship because someone looked at it wrong? That was never confirmed. Sir. It was on video, Lieutenant. The child knocked again. This time she pressed her face against the small viewing slot, her small human eyes impossibly blue and wide. She waved. The honey badger yawned, revealing teeth that had no business being that sharp on an animal that size. By the 7 moons, Vrath breathed. Get me Admiral Thorne. Now. The human admiral, sir? Yes, the human admiral. If anyone knows what to do about this, it'll be one of them. He paused. Actually, no. Cancel that. They'll probably just laugh. Sir, she's knocked 16 more times while you've been talking. Vrath looked back at the screen. The child had indeed been busy. Now she was holding up a piece of paper with something written on it in crude letters. He enhanced the image. Hello. My name is Maya. Can I come in, please? She spelled please wrong, Skora observed. That's what concerns you right now? The spelling? Vrath felt his respiratory system struggling. How did humans manage to be so terrifying and so innocent at the same time? What about the biological weapon sitting behind her? His name is probably Mr. Snuggles or something equally deceptive, Skora said darkly. That's how they operate. Cute names for unkillable monsters. As if on cue, the honey badger stood up, stretched, and began grooming itself with complete disinterest in the 16 automated defense turrets currently tracking its every movement. Maya knocked again. All right, fine. Vrath's scales rippled with resignation. Open a communication channel. Just audio. I'm not giving them visual until I know what's happening here. A technician's tendrils flew over the controls. A soft chime indicated the channel was open. Attention, human child. This is Commander Vrath of the Galactic Defense Concordat. This is a restricted military installation. How did you get here? And why are you? Why do you have that animal with you? The child's face brightened. She fumbled with something at her belt, a small communication device, clearly modified for her small hands. Oh, hi. Sorry, I didn't mean to bother anybody. I'm Maya Reston. I'm looking for my dad. Silence filled the command center. Your dad, Vrath repeated slowly. Yes, Major Thomas Reston. He works here, I think. Mom said he was. Stationed at the big fortress on Kellamore 5, and this is the only big fortress I could find. Mister Pickles and I walked for like 3 days. My feet hurt. Mister Pickles. Vrath looked at the honey badger, which had now noticed something in the dirt and was digging at it with the intensity of a mining excavator. You named it Mister Pickles. He likes pickles, Maya said brightly. Well, he likes everything. He ate my lunch yesterday. And my backpack. He tried to eat a rock once, but I stopped him. Tried to eat a rock, Skora whispered, her voice hollow. As one does. Vrath pulled up the personnel database, searching for Reston. Sure enough, Major Thomas Reston, human, assigned to Xenobiology Research Division, currently on a 3-week expedition to the northern continent, studying some kind of local fungus. He was supposed to return in 4 days. Miss Reston, Vrath began, trying to sound calm and authoritative, which was difficult when talking to a small human who'd somehow crossed 3 days of hostile terrain with an animal that scared galactic marines. Your father isn't here right now. He's on a research mission. But I need you to tell me, very clearly, how you got here. This planet has restricted travel. Civilians aren't allowed. Especially not children. Maya's face fell. Oh, I thought I timed it right. Mom's ship dropped me off at the trader outpost, and the nice bug people said Dad was here, so I just followed the map. The map. Yes. The one on the datapad Mom gave me. It had a little arrow and everything. She held up a device that looked like it had been through a war. Mr. Pickles sat on it yesterday, so the screen's a bit cracked, but it worked okay. Vrath felt a headache forming in his frontal lobe. Your mother. Let me get this straight. Your mother dropped you off at a trader outpost, on a restricted military planet, and told you to walk. To find your father? Well, not exactly. Maya shifted her weight from foot to foot. Mom didn't know I snuck onto the cargo ship. She thinks I'm at space camp. But space camp was boring, and I missed Dad, so I sort of borrowed the ship's emergency shuttle when we docked at the outpost, and then I might have accidentally launched it into the sun trying to land, so I had to walk, and then I found Mr. Pickles, and he was really nice, so he came with me. The command center was silent enough to hear a pin drop in vacuum. You, Vrath said carefully, launched a shuttle into the sun. It was an accident. The controls were confusing. But it's okay, I left a note. You left a note. For Mom, on my bunk. She won't find it until next week, though, because she's doing deep space mapping. Maya smiled helpfully. So technically, I have time to see Dad and get back before she notices. Skora made a sound like a deflating balloon. Sir, I think we need to contact human authorities. Immediately. I concur, Lieutenant. But first, Vrath looked at the screen again. The child looked tired. Her clothes were dirty, torn in places. There were scratches on her arms, probably from vegetation. She'd walked for 3 days. Alone. Well, not alone. With a honey badger she'd apparently befriended. 3 days through terrain that made seasoned soldiers nervous. Sir? Skora prompted. Vrath sighed. A long, whistling exhale. Open the gate. Just the personnel door. And get medical down here. She probably needs water, food, and about 17 different vaccines after 3 days in the wilderness. And the honey badger? Prepare tranquilizer rounds. Enough to drop a Gorthian battle tank. If that thing so much as looks at someone wrong, we put it down. Sir, honey badgers have survived tranquilizer doses meant for creatures 10 times their size. They're functionally immune to most toxins, including bee stings, snake venom, and military-grade sedatives. Then prepare to evacuate the base. The personnel door, a much smaller entrance beside the massive main gate, slid open with a pneumatic hiss. Maya's face lit up like a solar flare, and she practically bounced through the opening. Mr. Pickles followed at a leisurely waddle, pausing to sniff the doorframe with professional interest. Vrath descended from the command center, flanked by 6 armed guards in full combat armor. Probably overkill for a child. Definitely not enough for the badger. Up close, Maya looked even smaller. Her dark hair was tangled, pulled back in a lopsided ponytail. She wore a bright pink jacket covered in cartoon stars, now stained with mud and something that might have been tree sap. Her shoes, clearly designed for city life, were held together with what appeared to be vine strips. She looked up at Vrath with absolute trust and zero fear. That was the thing about human children. They hadn't learned proper threat assessment yet. Thank you for letting me in, Maya said, her voice cheerful despite obvious exhaustion. I was getting worried. The nights here are really dark. Like, super dark. Mr. Pickles kept trying to fight the wind. He tried to fight the wind. Vrath decided he was going to need so much therapy after this. Yeah, he's very brave. Once, he fought a snake that was like twice as big as him. He won. Behind Maya, Mr. Pickles had discovered a supply crate and was attempting to bite through solid plasteel. Just because. Someone, Vrath said with forced calm, get that animal away from our supplies. A brave, foolish, or possibly suicidal guard approached the honey badger with a containment pole. Mr. Pickles looked up, made a sound like a broken chainsaw, and went back to gnawing the crate. The guard wisely retreated. He does that, Maya said apologetically. He's just checking if it's food. Everything might be food in his opinion. She paused. He ate a communicator yesterday. Still works though. I can hear it beeping in his tummy sometimes. Vrath closed all four eyes, opened them. The nightmare was still happening. Miss Reston, Maya, I need you to listen very carefully. What you did, walking 3 days through hostile terrain, it was extremely dangerous. You could have died. Maya nodded seriously. I know. Mr. Pickles saved me from a big lizard thing on day 2. It had lots of teeth. A Kellamore stalker? Is that what they're called? It was green and angry. Mr. Pickles bit its nose, and it ran away crying. 6 armed guards simultaneously took a step back from the honey badger. Right. Vrath felt his species' famous calm evaporating. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to take you to medical, get you cleaned up, fed, checked for injuries. Then we're going to contact your mother, your father, and probably several human government agencies. Do you understand? Will I get in trouble? Yes. So much trouble. Trouble you can't even imagine. Maya's lower lip trembled. But I just wanted to see my dad. He's been gone for 2 months. I miss him. And there it was. The reason behind the insanity. A child missing her father. Simple. Pure. Completely illogical by any military standard. Vrath's combat experience included 3 wars, 17 planetary conflicts, and countless tactical operations. None of them had prepared him for this. Your father will be back in 4 days, he said, his voice softening despite himself. You can wait here. Safely. With food and a bed, and no deadly predators. Can Mr. Pickles stay too? That depends entirely on whether Mr. Pickles can avoid destroying my base for 4 days. As if answering, the honey badger finally breached the supply crate, pulled out a combat ration pack, and began eating it, wrapper and all. He'll be good, Maya promised. Probably. Medical arrived, a team of 3 Thraxians led by Dr. Kelmar, who took one look at the situation and made a sound like a deflating atmosphere processor. Commander, Kelmar said flatly, why is there a human child covered in mud, scratches, and what appears to be 3 different types of alien plant matter? Long story, Doctor. Can you just check her over? Make sure she's not dying of some exotic disease? And the Mellivora capensis? That's Mr. Pickles, Maya supplied helpfully. He's friendly. Mostly. Mr. Pickles chose that moment to notice the medical team and made a sound that ancient Earth soldiers probably used to describe the horrors of war. I'm not trained for this, Kelmar said. My medical degree specifically excludes honey badgers. There's a whole section about it. Page 47. In bold. Just. Vrath made a gesture somewhere between pleading and commanding. Do what you can. Please. The next hour was controlled chaos. Maya was scanned, cleaned, bandaged, fed 3 meals worth of rations, and given a set of clean clothes that were about 6 sizes too big. She rolled up the sleeves and seemed delighted with her new look. Mr. Pickles was given his own room after he tried to fight the medical scanner. The room was promptly reinforced with additional locks. He was last seen curled up in a corner, sleeping peacefully, having eaten approximately his body weight in rations. Vrath sat in his office, preparing the most ridiculous incident report of his career. Subject: unauthorized juvenile human arrival. Details: One child, age 8, traveled 3 days through hostile terrain accompanied by Mellivora capensis. Reason: wanted to see her father. Damages: one emergency shuttle, destroyed. One supply crate, compromised. 12 personnel, traumatized. Threat assessment: unclear, but definitely human. His communicator chimed. Admiral Thorne. Human. Stationed at the fleet. Command 3 systems over. Vrath answered with resignation. Admiral. Vrath. I heard the most incredible story from the Outpost network. Something about a child and a honey badger walking into a fortress. Please tell me it's not true. I cannot tell you that, Admiral. Thorne laughed. The booming sound that humans made when they found something genuinely funny. That's the most human thing I've heard all month. Let me guess. She's trying to find her parents? Father. Major Reston. He's due back in 4 days. Tom Reston? Good man. Terrible at keeping his personal life organized. Thorne paused. The kid okay? Surprisingly, yes. Scratched, exhausted, but healthy. The honey badger appears to have protected her. Of course it did. Honey badgers are loyal once they bond. Absolutely psychotic, but loyal. Another pause. I'll contact the family. Make sure the mother knows her daughter's safe. Try not to let the badger destroy anything important in the meantime. It already ate a communicator. Then nothing else important. Thorne out. The line went dead. Vrath slumped in his chair, 4 eyes closed, trying to process the day. A child. A honey badger. 3 days of walking. Humans were terrifying in war because of their technology, their tactics, their unwillingness to surrender. But this was a different kind of terrifying. A child who looked at a 3-day journey through hostile terrain as just something you did when you missed your dad. Who befriended one of nature's most aggressive creatures and named it Mister Pickles. Who knocked politely on the gate of a military fortress and smiled. His communicator chimed again. This time, it was Skora. Sir, you need to see this. What now? Maya's asking for you. She says Mr. Pickles won't sleep unless someone tells him a story. She's requesting you specifically. Tell her I'm busy. She said, please, sir. She spelled it correctly this time. Vrath looked at the ceiling of his office, wondering what he'd done in a past life to deserve this. Fine. I'll be there in 5 minutes. He found Maya sitting cross-legged in the observation room, connected to Mr. Pickles' reinforced quarters. The honey badger was pressed against the transparent aluminum, looking at her with something that might have been affection if you ignored the chaos in its eyes. Commander Vrath. Maya brightened. Mr. Pickles likes you. I can tell. That seems unlikely. No, really. He only tries to bite people he doesn't like. He hasn't tried to bite you at all. I've been standing behind multiple barriers. Details. Maya patted the floor next to her. Can you tell him a story? He really likes stories. I usually tell him about space pirates, but I'm too tired tonight. This was absurd. Completely absurd. Vrath sat down. Once, he began, feeling ridiculous. There was a small ship that traveled between stars, carrying messages from world to world. Maya leaned against his side, already half asleep. Mr. Pickles settled down, watching with dark, intelligent eyes. The ship was brave and fast and never gave up, even when the journey was long and the night was dark. By the time he finished, Maya was asleep, curled against his side like it was the most natural thing in the world. Mr. Pickles had closed his eyes, breathing slowly. Skora appeared in the doorway, her expression unreadable. Sir, I've prepared the spare quarters. Should I move her? Vrath looked down at the sleeping child. This small human who'd walked 3 days through danger just to see her father. No, he said quietly. Let her rest. We'll move her when she wakes. And the honey badger appears to be sleeping. Let's not tempt fate. Understood, sir. 4 days. He just had to keep everything stable for 4 days until Major Reston returned. How hard could it be? Day 2 of the Maya incident began with an emergency alarm at 0600 hours. Vrath bolted upright from his desk, where he'd apparently fallen asleep reviewing supply reports. His communicator was screaming. red lights flashing across every panel in his office. "Commander, we have a situation." Skora's voice crackled with barely controlled panic. "Mr. Pickles is missing." "What do you mean missing?" "He was in a reinforced containment room with 6 locks and armed guards." "The guards are fine, sir." "Confused. But fine. The locks are still engaged. He just isn't inside anymore." Vrath was already moving, his boots clattering against the metal floors as he sprinted toward the containment wing. "How does an animal escape a locked room without opening the locks?" "That's what we're trying to figure out, sir." He rounded the corner to find 8 personnel staring at the empty containment room through the transparent barrier. The space was completely intact. Food bowls untouched. Water dispenser functioning. 0 signs of damage. Just no honey badger. "Check the ventilation system," Vrath ordered. "That's the only possible explanation." A technician pulled up the schematics on a portable display. "Sir, the vent covers are still sealed. Besides, the openings are only 15 centimeters wide. A honey badger couldn't possibly fit. You clearly haven't read the reports on what honey badgers can do." "Actually, sir, I wrote most of those reports. Physically, anatomically, it's impossible. Their skeletal structure won't compress that much." "Then where is he?" A small voice piped up from behind the assembled crowd. "Oh, Mr. Pickles does that sometimes." Everyone turned to see Maya, wearing her oversized borrowed clothes, holding what appeared to be a breakfast ration pack. She looked remarkably well rested for someone who'd walked 3 days through wilderness. "He's probably exploring," she continued cheerfully. "He gets bored if he stays in one place too long. Don't worry, though, he always comes back for meals." "Always comes back," Vrath repeated, his voice dangerously calm. "Miss Reston, this is a military installation with classified technology, experimental weapons, and approximately 600 personnel who are now at risk from a loose honey badger." Maya took a bite of her ration bar. "He won't hurt anybody unless they're mean to him. Or if they smell like snakes. He really hates snakes. Do I look like a snake to you?" "No. You look more like a really tall lizard with extra eyes." "It's cool." Skora leaned close to Vrath, whispering, "Sir, should we initiate lockdown protocols and trap everyone inside with a loose honey badger? That's how horror stories start, Lieutenant." He turned back to Maya. "Is there any way to find him? Track him? Lure him back?" "Usually, I just shake his treat bag, and he comes running." Maya held up a small pouch that rattled. "But I don't know where he is right now, so that might take a while." "Fantastic." Vrath activated his command communicator. "All personnel, this is Commander Vrath. We have a loose honey badger somewhere in the facility. Do not approach if spotted. Do not attempt capture. Simply report the location to command immediately. That is all." The response was immediate. His communicator lit up with confused acknowledgments, concerned questions, and one message that simply read, "Are you serious right now?" "Very serious," he muttered. The search took 3 hours, 3 long, tense hours where productivity dropped to 0 because everyone was either looking for Mr. Pickles or hiding from potential Mr. Pickles encounters. He was finally located in the mess hall, sitting on top of the main food preparation unit, having somehow accessed the cold storage and eaten his way through approximately 20 kilograms of preserved meats. Chef Borund, a massive Corthelian with 4 arms and a legendary temper, stood at a safe distance, all 4 hands raised in surrender. "Commander, I don't know how he got in. The storage is biometrically sealed. But he's eaten next week's entire protein allocation." Mr. Pickles looked up from his feast, made eye contact with Vrath, and continued eating. "Maya," Vrath said carefully, "could you please collect your friend before he bankrupts our food supplies?" "Sure." Maya skipped forward without hesitation, completely ignoring every safety protocol ever written. She climbed onto a chair, then onto the counter, then reached up to scratch behind Mr. Pickles' ears. "Come on, buddy. You're being rude." The honey badger, terror of 3 systems, killer of snakes and destroyer of supply crates, made a sound like a purring chainsaw and climbed down into Maya's arms. She carried him out like he was a sleepy house cat, instead of a biological weapon. The entire mess hall remained silent for a full minute after they left. "I need a drink," Chef Borand finally said. "Several drinks, from the locked cabinet, the one marked for extreme emergencies." "Get in line," Vrath replied. Day 3 brought new challenges. Maya had apparently decided that since she was stuck at the fortress for 4 more days, she might as well help out. This resulted in her attempting to assist with various tasks, always with Mr. Pickles trailing behind her like a furry, aggressive shadow. She tried to help the engineering team, offering suggestions on their fusion core calibration that were surprisingly insightful for an 8-year-old. The engineers were impressed until Mr. Pickles tried to bite through a power coupling. She visited the communications array, where she explained that her mother worked on deep space mapping vessels and she knew all about signal propagation. The comtechs were charmed until Mr. Pickles climbed the primary antenna tower because he saw a bird. She stopped by the training grounds, where soldiers were running combat drills. She offered helpful commentary like, "You're holding that blaster wrong, and my dad says you should always check your 6. The soldiers would have been annoyed, except she was absolutely correct. And also Mr. Pickles had somehow acquired a training dummy and was destroying it with methodical precision. By 1400 hours, Vrath had received 47 incident reports, all variations of, "The child is helpful, but the honey badger is chaos incarnate." He found Maya in the observation deck, looking out at Kellamor's 3 moons rising over the northern mountain range. Mr. Pickles was curled at her feet, actually sleeping for once. "Maya, can we talk?" She turned, smiling. "Sure. Is something wrong?" "No, nothing wrong. I just wanted to check how you're doing. This must be strange for you, staying at a military base. It's actually pretty fun. Everyone's really nice. Lieutenant Skora taught me how to play Thraxian chess, except Mr. Pickles ate 2 of the pieces, so we had to improvise. And Chef Borand is teaching me to cook rations 17 different ways." "That's nice." Vrath settled beside her, his large frame making the human-sized chair creak. "But don't you miss home? Your mother? Your friends?" Maya's smile faded slightly. "Yeah, I do. But I miss Dad more. He sends messages, but it's not the same. Mom's always working too. Sometimes it feels like I'm alone even when I'm home." There it was, the truth beneath the adventure. A lonely child, desperate for connection. "When your father gets back, you'll have time together before you go home," Vrath said gently. "And I'm sure he'll be very happy to see you. Probably also very angry about the shuttle you crashed and the unauthorized planetary access, but mostly happy." Maya giggled. "I'm gonna be grounded forever, aren't I?" "Oh, absolutely. You might see sunlight again when you're 30. Worth it, though." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the moons climb higher. Then Maya spoke again, her voice quieter. "Commander Vrath, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Do you have kids?" The question caught him off guard. "No. My species. It's complicated. We bond differently than humans." "Oh. Do you ever get lonely?" "Sometimes. Military life doesn't leave much room for personal connections. We have duty, responsibility, the safety of countless worlds to maintain. That sounds lonely. Out of the mouths of children, as the human saying went." "Perhaps it is," he admitted. "But someone has to do it. My dad says that too. But I think he's also warg. Just scared." "Scared of what?" "Of being close to people. Mom says he saw bad things in the war, that he has nightmares. That's why he volunteers for long missions away from home." Maya pulled her knees to her chest. "I thought if I came here, if he saw me, maybe he'd remember that home isn't scary. It's just where the people who love you are." Vrath felt something crack in his chest, some carefully maintained wall between commander and person. "That's very wise for someone your age. I'm 8. That's basically almost grown up." "Of course. My mistake." Mr. Pickles stirred, opened one eye to check if anything interesting was happening, then went back to sleep. Even honey badgers needed rest eventually. Day 4 arrived with actual good news. Major Reston's research team had finished early and were en route back to the fortress. ETA, 6 hours. Vrath had never been so relieved in his entire military career. "Sir," Skora reported, "we've prepared a briefing document for Major Reston, outlining the situation. We thought it best he be informed before arriving." "Excellent thinking, Lieutenant. Send it immediately." "Already done, sir. We received his response 3 minutes ago." "And?" Skora's expression was unreadable. He said, and I quote, "That's my girl. Tell her I'm bringing Pickles." He's bringing Pickles. For Mr. Pickles, presumably. Of course. Why not? Nothing about this situation has made sense. Why start now? The waiting was almost worse than the chaos. Maya became increasingly excited as the hours ticked down, bouncing around the fortress with Mr. Pickles struggling to keep up with her energy. Finally, at 1,647 hours, the research transport touched down on the main landing pad. Vrath, Skora, Maya, and Mr. Pickles, who'd been given a thorough bath and still looked disreputable, stood at the arrival gate. The transport doors opened. Major Thomas Reston stepped out, tall, bearded, wearing field research gear covered in mud and carrying a scrum, large container marked biological samples and handle with care. His eyes found Maya immediately. "Dad." She launched herself forward like a missile, crashing into his arms with enough force to stagger a grown human. Reston caught her, lifting her clear off the ground, his face cycling through emotions too quickly to track. Joy, anger, relief, exhaustion, love, more anger. Definitely more love. "Maya Sophia Reston," he said, his voice thick. "What in the name of every star in the galaxy are you doing here? I missed you." Her face was buried in his shoulder. "I'm sorry I crashed the shuttle and walked through the scary forest and broke like 100 rules, but I really missed you." Reston closed his eyes, holding his daughter like she might disappear. When he opened them, they were wet. "Baby girl, you could have died. You understand that, right? This planet is dangerous. I had Mr. Pickles." As if summoned, the honey badger waddled over and sat down at Reston's feet, looking up with dark eyes that somehow conveyed both innocence and threat. "You have got to be kidding me." Reston stared at the animal. "You brought a honey badger with you?" "I didn't bring him, I found him. He was stuck in a mud pit, and I helped him, and then he just followed me. He's really nice, Dad. He only tried to eat 3 people. 3 people. They were fine. He didn't actually eat them. Just tried." Reston looked over Maya's head at Vrath, who shrugged all 4 shoulders in a gesture of universal helplessness. "Commander Vrath," Reston said formally, still holding his daughter, "I apologize for any trouble my daughter has caused. I'll take full responsibility. Major Reston, your daughter walked 3 days through hostile terrain because she missed you. She befriended a honey badger. She survived. She's been brave, polite, and surprisingly helpful despite causing mass chaos. If anything, you should be proud. I am proud. I'm also planning to ground her until she's eligible for her own command. That seems fair." Reston set Maya down but kept one hand on her shoulder, as if afraid she'd vanish. "You know your mother is losing her mind, right? Thorne contacted her. She's been sending messages for 2 days straight. You're in so much trouble." "I know." Maya's voice was small. "But I got to see you, so it was worth it." Something in Reston's expression broke. He knelt down, eye level with his daughter. "Baby, I'm sorry. I've been gone too much. I thought I was protecting you by staying away, but I was just being a coward. You shouldn't have had to cross a planet to find your dad. You're not a coward. You're the bravest person I know. You just forget sometimes that brave people need hugs too." Reston pulled her close again, and this time, his shoulders shook. Vrath quietly gestured for everyone to give them privacy. The assembled personnel retreated, leaving father and daughter alone on the landing pad. Well, not entirely alone. Mr. Pickles remained, sitting guard like a very small, very aggressive sentinel. 2 hours later, after tearful reunions and several difficult conversations, the Reston family prepared to depart. A proper transport had been arranged, complete with clearance codes and absolutely no possibility of shuttle crashes. Maya had changed back into her pink jacket, now cleaned and repaired by the base's maintenance team who'd taken pity on the small human who'd walked so far. She found Vrath in his office, filing the final reports. "Commander Vrath?" He looked up. "Miss Reston, shouldn't you be boarding your transport?" "In a minute. I just wanted to say thank you. For not being mad. For letting me stay. For telling Mr. Pickles that story. You're welcome. Though I suggest you avoid similar adventures in the future. My cardiovascular system can't take many more." Maya giggled, then stepped forward and hugged his leg, the only part of him she could reach comfortably. Vrath froze, unsure how to respond. Physical affection wasn't common in his species. But slowly, carefully, he patted her head with one clawed hand. "Be safe, Maya. And tell Mr. Pickles to avoid eating any more communicators." "I will. Oh, and Dad says you should visit us sometime. On Earth, he knows a great pizza place. I don't know what pizza is. Then you definitely have to come." She bounced out of his office, leaving Vrath alone with his thoughts and a stack of the most bizarre incident reports in Galactic Defense Concordat history. Skora entered a moment later. "They're departing, sir." "Good. Finally, we can return to normal operations. The base seems quiet without them." "That's called peace, Lieutenant. We like peace." "Yes, sir." Skora paused. "Though, if I may speak freely, the child was remarkable. To survive that journey at her age, with only an animal companion, that takes extraordinary courage and determination. It's a very human trait." Vrath agreed. "They excel at surviving impossible situations through sheer, stubborn refusal to give up. Add in their bonding with dangerous creatures and their capacity for love, and you get children who walk across planets to find their parents. Do you think she'll be all right?" "I think Maya Reston will be more than all right. I think 20 years from now, we'll be reading reports about Captain Reston or Dr. Reston doing equally impossible things. Humans like that don't stop just because they grow up. Should I be worried for the galaxy's future?" "Terrified, Lieutenant. Absolutely terrified. But also hopeful. If humanity can produce children like that, perhaps we're in better hands than we think." They stood at the observation window, watching the transport lift off, its engines glowing bright against Kellamor's darkening sky. Somewhere on that ship, a small girl sat with her father, probably already planning her next adventure, while a honey badger named Mister Pickles slept in the cargo hold, dreaming of all the things he might eat tomorrow. 3 days later, Vrath received a package. Inside was a jar of earth pickles, a hand-drawn picture of him, Maya, and Mr. Pickles standing in front of the fortress, and a note in careful child's handwriting. "Thank you for being nice to me. You're one of the bravest people I know, too. Maybe brave people need hugs just as much as everyone else. Your friend, Maya. P.S. Mr. Pickles says hi. P.P.S. I'm grounded for 6 months. Worth it, though." Vrath placed the picture on his desk where he could see it every day. Sometimes, he thought, the galaxy's greatest warriors weren't the ones with the biggest weapons or the most advanced technology. Sometimes, they were 8-year-old girls who knocked politely on gates and refused to let anything, not distance, not danger, not even common sense, stop them from reaching the people they loved. And sometimes, those warriors had unlikely companions with too many teeth and absolutely zero survival instinct, who somehow made the impossible possible. Vrath opened the jar of pickles, tried one, and immediately understood why Mr. Pickles liked them. They were pretty good. Outside his window, Kellamor's 3 moons rose over mountains that had seemed so dangerous just days ago. Somewhere in the base, personnel returned to their duties, already turning the Maya incident into legend. And somewhere in the vastness of space, a child and her father were going home, together at last, with a honey badger in the cargo hold, and enough trouble waiting at the end to last several lifetimes. But that was tomorrow's problem. Tonight, the fortress was peaceful. The galaxy kept spinning, and one commander allowed himself to smile at a child's drawing and remember that sometimes, the smallest knocks open the biggest doors.